Okay. Um, you know, these people have been humiliated in so many ways because what I mean humiliations is because they wanted, as a target individuals, you have different psyops. People they try to portray themselves in something else because they do the foulest things, and they want the target individuals to identify to whatever manipulation you experience. Now, at this point, I've said what the type of manipulation they force you to have. 2 seconds ago, what they did is it's so nasty. Um, because I'm like on YouTube scrolling down, they're making me think, oh, maybe you should be like watching like this adult content, and it make me think, listen, I'm not perfect, I've like every other man, I've my imperfections, but my imperfections are not what they want, right? They create this new nasty, disturbing things they do. That's my imperfection. So they make me think of like um, watching adult content, and something like that. And that thought just come randomly, and then I scroll down and I see like this like wholesome picture of a baby looking at like a gorilla or something like that. And it's like, oh, they just wanted to put this thing together to create these sexual thoughts and mix it with the baby. It's so nasty. They do this false stuff, and they time it, and it's always meant to try to rewire your brain to think about kids in a sexual way. That's their job. That's what they do. These people you see here are supposed to make you accept these manipulations as if it's happening naturally, right? And I keep being told that they're gonna rape me. It's like once they make you experience these ways of thinking, they then tell you about the torture, right? Because they want you to identify. It's typical thing. It's like, I'm gonna do something to you, and then it's like, oh my god, they're gonna kill you. They're gonna. And now they've been really more cranking up the organ, uh, like targeting my like liver and whatever. So I understand, I understood there'll be a day I won't be able to speak. That's why I make so many videos. I hear these people try to sound menacing, but the reality is what you're gonna hear. Now these people that you see, right? I think they're on this side. If I'm not, no, actually, they're these people, or I think they're this side. Yeah, these people are contracted individuals by these entities, which life is to me. That's why I'm so thankful to God, because I've been praying, and I've always asked, do not let them live the little fantasy. Um, Let them see themselves for what they are. And I've made it clear that I know that this entity is really in charge of these things. I feel with pedophiles. This program is meant to rewire men and women in these disturbing pedophilia ways. You're gonna hear that. Not the first. I'm not this is not. I'm not the first. I'm not the last one. To have said that, you see these random people that you see there. Their job is to make you believe that whatever you're experiencing right now, whatever way stimulation or arousals that you experience, are just happening naturally, right? But they know that you know. That their goal is to gaslight you into accepting this false reality. People around me, day in and day out, going through the scripts. You're gonna hear about the scripts. This is a tactic to just kind of disorient you, confuse you, while you're being tortured. You see, you know that this is the tactics that the CIA have come together, orchestrated or architected, right? Then you hear what also is going on in this intelligence community that contract these bottom feeders. And you hear this guy, this man, he wants to sound like, for me, they love to use tonality. When they talk to me via V2K, they try to be like, haha, you're gonna die slow. I'm like, you see who it is. It's these people that you see talking. Or a version like them, right? I'm like, I'd rather die slow. I'd rather be rotting because I know they're doing something to my kidneys and my liver. It's like, this is an honorable death. Look at what you have to do. Do you think I envy the life that you live? Do you think I want to trade places? Do you think I would rather be a healthy individual? These people, look, see how healthy they look? Do you think I'd rather be healthy like them? No, I'd rather die. And they're gonna frame me, put me in the whatever torture. I reassure you, there is nothing that you can do that will make me envy or want to be these people. Nothing. No, I don't want to be tortured. I don't want to be dying in hell like they said. But these people, this is what they live in. They will try to come up with all the things and manipulate. Like, this is your life. I've humiliated these people in ways because they wanted to come up with a fantasy of something else. There is no way you can ignore the reality of what they're part of what they do to people and how they manipulate people in these disturbing ways. I'm obviously not subscribing. Matter of fact, I can't wait to see another one so I can add to these people so I can get a better glimpse, a better view of what these people look like, how they pretend to and how they act and all this. That's why they don't want to be seen. You can't cover up this. This is just too much. It's just so systematic. How can I say the same thing this person is saying? These people, they're all saying the same thing. Oh no, but a lot of people are saying the same thing. Oh, they're saying the things very similar to what I'm saying. You can't, like, and they try to gaslight you and using these childlike individuals. And I'm look at these people. Look at how. Do you think these people can influence me and make me believe anything that they want me to subscribe to? I'm not saying I'm a genius. Some of them are way smarter than me. Some of them are way more logical than me. But once they involve in this program, they have to dumb themselves down because they want you to accept this false reality. And that's when they start making me feel like a genius. They start talking about things well-spoken, well-read, and everything else, and then, see, we could just couch you. You hear these things, the testimonies. You hear the scripts they're going through. And you see the kids they have to use, which is better for them because these childlike individuals, they have no self-respect. That's good. I would rather get raped, as they like to say, than having to live life like that. They do the pedophile type of torture. They torture children. They do horrible things to women. And they're embarrassed by finding out the entities that contract these bottom feeders. They are bottom feeders, meaning they are the nobodies in this program. These people can be changed, right? They're not, they're nobodies, right? They do their part, right? They do what they need to do. They go through the scripts. They're gonna do whatever, and slamming the doors, whatever they need to do. Try to make me subscribe to this. But the people in charge, whose world it is these entities in this intelligence community who happen to have a bunch of pedophiles. And these people have come up with a tactic to break people down using pedophilia. And you have trash like them who are everyday people implementing these tactics, doing their part, slamming the door, repeating things, doing whatever, but they're nobodies. I see them with a little suitcase just walking. I would be dying like this. This is honorable. I feel like there's no way you cannot think of it in a spiritual way. Because listen to what they do. Listen to the obvious tortures. Listen to that. Listen to the pedophile type of torture. Tell me if this is not spiritual. Yes, I know technically it's not. This is where our subject in this program where they're improving and developing this technology, right? Okay, I understand the scientific aspect of it. I understand the technological aspect of it. But there is something that definitely feels spiritual. Because look how humiliating life is. My death, we're all gonna die. It's funny, I was walking past like a police station and I see some cop that died, and I'm like, and I realized I'm in my little bubble where I forget that reality is just death is, all of us are gonna get that. You just have to self-respect. So stay strong.
They're trying to take over my mind, putting thoughts of pedophilia. It's disgusting. Take this whole thing into account so much and make it so dramatic. It is dramatic. It's somebody trying to end my life. It's somebody trying to end who I am as a person. It's somebody trying to take over my mind, putting thoughts of pedophilia. It's disgusting things. You saw where I was going with that first word. Disgusting things that I don't even want to talk about because it makes me sick. I don't even like those words in my mind. But it is what it is. So I have no choice now but to acknowledge that there are people in my surroundings or whatever they're doing. I don't know how they do it. I don't care. I don't know if it's through weapons. I don't know. I don't care.
I can be free from this torture. Every day has been a miracle of survival. I also experience what is referred to as malodorance. This is the alteration of the smell sensation so that I am often made to smell various things, including smoke, burning, dirty diaper, or baby powder, which they sometimes combine with the pedophilia type of torture, including the threat of planted dreams and videos in my closed eyes. In 2015, I began to experience what some call V2K, or voice to skull. This involves the projection of voices, noises, and music directly into my mind to communicate with me in real time and at the speed of thought. And it also includes the manipulation of thoughts, emotions, and perceptions in the person's mind. Additionally, the targeting is all highly perverted and sexual, as well as destructive and violent.
The targets were forced to perform homosexual acts on each other against their will and religion in order not to be beaten or killed. This is a common breakdown tactic of belief systems and the human will. In no-touch torture, the techniques are more psychologically specialized for each target. Most common examples include homosexual targets that are forced with voices that are derogatory to their lifestyle and similar mental images. Almost all targets are forced to view child pornography in their minds.
Also often see highly disturbing pornographic images and videos, including highly disturbing pedophilia type of images and videos when I close.
Occasion, I was told I was going to be shot in the face. And it was an older guy. He was like really, really disgruntled and pissed off. Yeah, you're going to get shot in the face. You know, sound like an angry ass old person. You know, then a couple of days later, a female said the same thing. Don't get shot in the face. You know, stupid shit like that. But what I really noticed is with the voice to skull, it's a bunch of females. You know, and I'm like, bro, really? You're not a woman. What real woman would stalk another female or sit back and allow that to go on? You really think they think it's nothing wrong with them?
Change in my behavior. Of course, this is not new, because one main thing this program is out there is called behavior modification for the undesirable, and that's one of the excuses this groups give for the neighbor TO join, deception. I learned to talk back, in my mind, during the process when I was awakened, and I would say demeaning things, that I cannot repeat it in this blog, you know what I mean. Since they had violated me for so long, I decided to aggravate them with words in my mind. I can hear my own voice. Going TO make you pay for all of the years of torture that I've taken, and all you are going TO here is aggravation. For every single second of my privacy that you have taken away. From me and my family. Then said this: the slaves began a program of perversion. First was with my dog. I am very playful with my pet, and suddenly one day that I was petting him I felt strange, in the sense of the word. I thought, this is strange, and then afterwards that strange sensation continued. Then in that moment I realized that was impost, so I thought, look at this losers, don't know how to put me down, and they are doing this. So I told them that I know what you are trying to do, and I started laughing, and then I said again out loud, you'll never take my will, ass. So just to show them that I meant what I said, I kept playing with my dog, and even though that attacks continue, I don't let them get me. Today they continue with the programming of perversion, but this time they are aiming in the use. A people, better said young people, also children.
Any part of the body. This technology can be used to sexually manipulate the target. It can make the target feel sexual arousal, or it can sort of turn off the
Able to impose any information on the brain of a person, presumably by some kind of waves, which in the mind take the form of voices, thoughts and images and imagination. In addition to this kind of implanting information that they need, they manipulate the psyche so that the information is written into your memory. Then by stimulating the certain regions in the brain they can retrieve this information and present it as your own memory. This is the conclusion that can be made judging by the influence they have been making on me with their psychotronic weapons, for example artificial thoughts, imagination, and mental torture.
8 billion brains on the planet, potentially. Read them. Marines underwater.
How do you explain this is happening to Len? How do you rationalize it?
Him in private. Hold on.
Okay, yeah.
Can I talk? Here's how I do my studies, and I wanted to find the commonalities, but I have to throw away the ones I'm uncertain about that are true targets. Maybe there's natural schizophrenia, there's a whole bunch of chemical imbalances,
Right,
etc.
right.
These weapons can actually induce and mimic all those diseases and effects. But the conversations, the scripts, they're called, are always the same. And I've heard them all. They're slightly tailored for each individual, but they're scripts. And they're meant to confuse the very derogatory. That's just typical breakdown. If you've ever been to boot camp, you're a worm until you're part of the team. And why would you want to break down the ego of that person? To rebuild it. So this gets into creating Manchurian candidates, split personality spies, and information couriers, people that will carry the V2K. So they'll say, we're the Russian government, we're the Chinese government, we're evil aliens, we're Satan's, satanic ritual abuse. And I've heard all the stories. One guy believed it was some 14-year-old kid with an Xbox that lived next door. The trickery really is that great when you're under hypnosis that people will believe something other than a massive government could do this. And so anyway, my interview with Len, he very well described a typical breakdown script that's used on almost all the TI victims. TI stands for targeted individuals. Some of them are pretty crazy. They have names like Alice in Wonderland, Wizard of Oz, and those are the confusion tactics. And when they're breaking down the ego of the human through all the pains and tortures and the verbal breakdown, these are typical CIA torture scripts. I mean, Kubark manual. And they do good cop, bad cop interrogation called Jeff and Mutt. And they go right through the list, right? Just textbook. So whoever the handlers are on the other side of this synthetic telepathy, they're following the handbook perfectly.
That's the thing. The rest of the cases, they were sent back to the CIA to handle them internally. Where are you?
Well, don't worry, Stephen. I think a few of them were fired.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. The rest of the cases, they were sent back to the CIA to handle them internally, whatever the hell that.
Where do you think
To the CIA.
That must mean there is such a lack of fearing any sort of accountability. For crying out loud. While on assignment, 1,400? You must have not been doing any job.
Well, even if you had to look at it to make sure you knew what it was, don't you just need to look at one?
Right.
You're like, I better check the other 1,399
double-checking.
just to be safe.
Yes, I better check the other
file.
1,300 labeled tax things.
Unbelievable.
Oh, my goodness.
And the guy with the 6-year-old?
Disgusting.
Twice.
Yeah, twice.
Twice with the 6-year-old.
So and here's the scariest part. Out of the 10 instances that are described in the report, only one person was ever charged with anything.
Yeah.
With anything. Comment below. Do you guys know this story? This should be catnip for the media, right? Think about it. You've got this lewd behavior. You've got corruption at the highest levels of government, right? Aaron Brockovich, something about fake tits and tap water.
Yeah.
The CIA, raping children and sexually assaulting children, and they're not being prosecuted? Where are you?
Had sexual contact with a 2-year-old and a 6-year-old. He was simply fired. One employee purchased sexually explicit videos of young girls filmed by their mothers. He resigned. One employee estimated that he had viewed up to 1,400 sexually abusive images of children while on agency assignments. Not sure what actions, if any, were taken by him. One contractor arranged for sex with an undercover FBI agent. I think that you mentioned that. Posing as a child, he had his contract revoked. One CIA staffer was charged with child sexual crimes, and the employee was also under investigation for mishandling classified material. The CIA did not answer detailed questions, saying only that the agency takes all allegations of possible criminal misconduct committed by personnel seriously. So you're saying the reason why they didn't take this more seriously, why there weren't actual prosecutions that were carried out, is because what they were trying to not only protect their agency, but trying to protect the country from being compromised in some way by our foreign enemies who would use this information in some kind of bribery scheme?
I think that it's actually quite worse than that. In my personal opinion, my analysis based on this is that they know that we're already compromised, and they don't want to have to admit how compromised we are by these foreign adversaries, by these foreign intelligence agencies. They know we're compromised, and they don't want it all spilling out into court. So they'll go over to FBI, they'll go over to DOJ and say, hey, don't worry, we're taking care of this. Hey, don't worry, we'll take care of this guy. Don't worry about that. Don't ask any questions. We don't want those secrets coming out in court. We know the FBI does this. Time and again, just like in the Kyle Rittenhouse case, where the FBI was able to testify off camera, completely in silent, and then their testimony was stricken from the record, so we couldn't even get a public review of what the transcript was, what the FBI testimony was in the Kyle Rittenhouse case, because we know they were conducting surveillance of this entire thing. It's the exact same thing, and and I was told behind the scenes in that case, they said we don't want our operations spilling out into court and people talking about it on YouTube. That's a direct quote.
Wow. Okay, here's more from this, and we'll finish this and then move on to the Ghislaine Maxwell trial. But sexual crimes involving children, says BuzzFeed, including the viewing of images of abuse, have been uncovered at other agencies that handle sensitive information. In a November 2009 report, the Department of Defense acknowledged that dozens of Pentagon staff members or contractors had such images. In 2014, the Inspector General of the Intelligence Community found that two officials from the National Reconnaissance Office, which oversees America's spy satellites, acknowledged viewing images of child sexual abuse during polygraph examinations. This is so disturbing. At a symposium in 2016, Daniel Payne, a top Pentagon security official, said that when workers' computers were examined, the amount of child porn I see is just unbelievable. Is this something that is happening for whatever reason with more frequency in our intelligence agencies, or is this something that is more pervasive in the general population than I originally realized? I mean, what's going on here? This is so bizarre and so evil.
Allie, we're told, and when I was put through recruitment into the intel community, you're put through polygraphs, you're put through a rigorous selection process. Why aren't these people weeded out? Why are so many pedophiles allowed to be given top-level security clearance? Remember, these aren't just people walking in off the street and saying, hey, can I get hired? Can I get a job? You're put through an extremely rigorous background check screening process. It's called an SSBI, single scope background investigation. There are people, they interview you, they interview your family, they interview your contacts, they go through your online footprint, they go through everything. So why is it that when they're going through these footprints, they're not checking, these digital footprints, they're not checking for so many pedophiles getting through their ranks? If it were up to me, you need to go into Congress, and Congress needs to launch a brand new church committee, number one, to talk about domestic surveillance operations, but number two, to ask the question, why are there so many pedophiles sitting behind?
I am currently a speech-language pathologist working in private practice with young children. I had a 7-year-old client who has autism, and she was the most significantly affected of all of my clients. I eventually had to tell this client to go to another clinic, and they used her to threaten the most torture in me, as well as their most extreme forms of torture. For several months, she would cry and scream horribly during our therapy sessions, despite having a great day at school. This was highly unusual behavior for her, as she usually behaved very well during her therapy sessions and had been making incredible progress on all of her therapy goals. This was used to threaten extreme torture on me, making me scream and cry, etc. They would make the kids act out the kinds of torture that would later be done on me. For example, they would also sometimes make her bite her hand, threatening to make me bite my hands, as they often do. One day, she had a large, severe bite mark on her arm. She has also grabbed her crotch, saying, ow, and this was used to threaten me with severe sexual torture. One day I also observed her gasping for air a few times in the same way that I do when I am being more severely suffocated. The suffocation had been in a mild state for a while up until this point. Many of their torture methods are cyclical in severity. Right after I saw this child being suffocated, then I began to experience very extreme suffocation all day, every day, for about 2 months straight, and that's also when they made it worse when I eat. Then I also work with a 4-year-old little girl with Down syndrome, as well as her 5-year-old sister who also has Down syndrome. I observed both of these girls suddenly grabbing their genitals in pain and verbalizing, "ow." I observed this at least on 1 or 2 occasions for each of them during their separate sessions. During one session, I observed one of my 3-year-old clients suddenly grab his crotch and lean forward in his chair. And then he made a frightening grimace of severe pain. I asked him what was wrong and if he needed to use the restroom, but he said no to having to use the restroom and was not able to verbalize anything more due to his language delay. He looked puzzled and bewildered. Even though I had stated that it was time to do more work right before this incident, I quickly just let him play another game, and he quickly returned to his joyful, happy self again. In other sessions, he has also grabbed his crotch and said, "ow," while looking up at me. In 2015, I began to experience what some call V2K, or voice to skull. This involves the projection of voices, noises, and music directly into my mind to communicate with me in real time and at the speed of thought.
They're trying to take over my mind, putting thoughts of pedophiles. Like, it's disgusting. This take this whole thing into account so much. I make it so dramatic. It is dramatic. It's somebody trying to end my life. It's somebody trying to end who I am as a person. It's somebody trying to take over my mind, putting thoughts of pedophiles. Like, this disgusting things. You saw where I was going with that first word. Disgusting things that I don't even want to talk about because it makes me sick. I don't even like those words in my mind. But it is what it is. So I have no choice now but to acknowledge that there are people in my surroundings or whatever they're doing. I don't know how they do it. I don't care. I don't know if it's through weapons. I don't know. I don't care.
I can be free from this torture. Every day has been a miracle of survival. I also experience what is referred to as malodorance. This is the alteration of the smell sensation so that I am often made to smell various things, including smoke, burning, dirty diaper, or baby powder, which they sometimes combine with the pedophilia type of torture, including the threat of planted dreams and videos in my closed eyes.
The targets were forced to perform homosexual acts on each other against their will and religion in order not to be beaten or killed. This is a common breakdown tactic of belief systems and the human will. In no-touch torture, the techniques are more psychologically specialized for each target. Most common examples include homosexual targets that are forced with voices that are derogatory to their lifestyle and similar mental images. Almost all targets are forced to view child pornography in their minds.
Any part of the body. This technology can be used to sexually manipulate the target. It can make the target feel sexual arousal, or it can